Hi everybody, I'm Scott, and this is my second time trying a live stream. First one was an utter failure because there was no audio. And anyway, in this I'm going to be building a rig to test AAA batteries. Why? Well, because I needed AAA batteries, and I went on Amazon, and, well, there's just about a million of them. Like, well, not a million, but I have 15 of them. And all of them had decent ratings. I actually bought a couple of shitty ratings, but the point is, like, 4.5 stars, which one is actually the best? Like, customer reviews, people buy them, they're like, oh yeah, they're batteries, they work great. I want to see which batteries have the best value per milliamp hour, and discard completely the ones that have no longevity, even if they're cheap, on a per milliamp hour basis. So that's going to be a subject of a second video. This is just me building the rig to test all these batteries. And let me show you what's going on there, because I kind of already started this. What I did was I bought a whole shitload of these battery holders. Each one holds 4 batteries, and that's so that I could put 4 of each brand of battery into each holder, so that I can get an idea of sort of the average, you know, in case there's like a little variation between batteries. This way I'll have an average of 4 of them put together, which hopefully will be somewhat accurate. It's still possible I get a bad batch, or one bad battery could kill the test. But if I get any really odd results, or anything really out of line with what I expect, I'll just retest those particular batteries. Anyway, I also got a bunch of these lamp holders. These hold these tiny little bulbs that now all this shit's from Amazon, by the way. These lamp holders hold these tiny bulbs. They're 6-volt lamps. I think they draw 0.5 amps each, which I figure is like a good rate of discharge for these batteries. It's going to be a little slow, but the whole idea is I'm going to put the test rig in front of a time-lapse camera and sort of let you, or whoever's watching the video, observe as they decline in power and the lights gradually go dim. Now I also got these very cheap yet kind of cool 3-digit voltage displays. And crap, let me show this to you. So here's the idea. There's going to be 15 of these basically strapped to a piece of plywood, which I will show you in a second. The problem is I did some of this work in the previous live stream, and I felt like it was much better organized during that one, because now I'm kind of jumping in the middle here, and I feel like I did all this already, so you'll have to excuse me if I'm a little... Well, there's no one watching this anyway. Yeah, concurrent viewers is 1, and it's me. So this isn't really a live stream, it's more like a recorded thing that will be not edited. So hence it's on the extras channel. My main channel, this would probably just not be suitable for it. Not like all the videos there are that great, but anyway, here you have it. So these 4 batteries, if there's no load, you can see it's supplying just about 6 volts. Each one is 1.5 volts, so 4 of them, logically enough, is 6 volts. And that's about accurate. I had previously tested this one with a multimeter. These do have a small adjustment screw on the back so that you can calibrate them, which I think is pretty cool. I forget how much these were. I think these were like $2 or $3 a piece. And so if they actually work out, you know, as they seem to be doing, then I think that's a pretty good deal and pretty cool for other projects down the road. And under load, you can see it drops down to about 5 volts, which is understandable because it is drawing half an amp. So let me show you what I'm going to attach all this crap to. Big piece of plywood. It's actually not that big. And in a previous video, I segmented the plywood into 15 different areas, one for each of the sets of batteries. It's actually 20 different areas, but 15 of them will fit nicely in a 16:9 aspect ratio, and I kind of just went overboard drawing the lines, so that's not really for any purpose. And the idea is I'm going to figure out how to neatly arrange these in each of these rectangles so that they look neat. And one of the problems I ran into with the last live stream is that I didn't have any screws that would fit, especially in the battery holder. Ow, damn, that bulb is hot. Holy shit. I mean, that's kind of to be expected, but whew. So you can see in the bottom of the battery holder, there's these tiny screw holes, and the problem is the screws need to sit pretty flush to the bottom of the case, because otherwise the battery won't be able to seat. And I had plenty of screws, but none quite small enough to do that and not also penetrate through the bottom of the plywood. This is 3/4 inch plywood, which is very much overkill, but it's what I had on hand. So, since last live stream, which failed, I went and got all these tiny little screws from Amazon. They're gold for some reason, they don't need to be, but that's what I got. The only problem I foresee with these is that the longest one may not be long enough to actually penetrate through the bottom of the bulb socket dealy. So I may need to use different screws for this, but I should have screws that'll fit. Yeah, barely pops through on the end. That's not actually going to dig into the plywood at all. But it'll be more than enough to attach this. And this I have to be careful, because if I drive the screws too hard, it's going to pop open the circuit board. Like this, the two mounting tabs here are just circuit board material coming off the back. And if I split these, it's not the end of the world probably, unless it splits going down that way and actually disrupts some of the traces on the board. But that's something I'll worry about in a few minutes. For now, I just want to figure out how I'm going to arrange all this crap so it looks relatively pleasing. And I should note that, like I said, last live stream, which was a huge failure, I already made up a few of these. It's nothing complicated at all. I'll show you how they're wired in a second. I mean, you could probably just basically see how they're wired. It's the battery compartment goes straight into these two terminals on the bulb socket, which are simple screw terminals. The negative goes, the black wire is negative, which goes to the voltage meter, and the voltage meter has 3 wires. The red and the white, I think the white is for a separate power source, and apparently it's more accurate if you use an external power source, but you can just join the red and white wires so that it draws power from whatever you're measuring. The only problem there is that it will crap out at 3 volts, which is fine, because by the time these get to 3 volts, that's pretty much when the batteries are useless. Because alkaline batteries, everyone says they're 1.5 volts, which is absolutely true, but they kind of decline in voltage on a curve, like a very linear curve, which I guess wouldn't be a curve, it would be a straight line. But my point is, it'll go from 1.5 volts down to 0.75 volts, and at 0.75 volts is when it's considered to be dead. Now, many devices will actually stop working well before it hits 0.75 volts, but with 4 batteries, obviously 0.75 times 4 is 3 volts, so that's when this will crap out, so that's just about perfect. So I don't mind that limitation on these little devices. And that's actually when I'm going to consider the test to be concluded, when either these hit 3 volts or they just stop working, because that should be around 3 volts. And obviously I have, 5 of these right here, so I'm going to have to make up an additional 10 of these, which is going to be very thrilling for you guys. Maybe I'll tell a story while I do it. And, you know, the fact of the matter is, if no one joins this live stream, I will probably edit this down a little bit. If people do join and ask questions and shit, I'll just leave it up as is. This is really my first time doing a full live stream, so we'll see how it goes. This is kind of a learning experience for me, so... Oh, I should make note of the giant, well, not giant, but the very obvious microphone attached to my head and the earpiece. The earpiece is because, like I said, I didn't get audio last time I was doing this, and that was pretty much a bummer, because I finished the whole thing and I went to go watch it on YouTube, and I was like, fuck, no audio whatsoever. So I'm monitoring it in this earpiece. The microphone is because, well, it attaches to my ear because it's right next to my fucking mouth. The advantage there is that it's as close as possible so that you're hearing my voice and not so much the servers behind me, which are very loud. And I apologize in advance, well, not in advance, you've already been listening to it if you've gone this far, but for the annoying hum in the background. I know it kind of sucks, but it's the best I can do right now. I got to do this in my basement because otherwise I'll wake up my wife if I did it upstairs next to the bedroom, and unfortunately the basement's where all this crap is. So I have some kind of noise reduction. It's not quite enough, I understand that. I put some music in the background to kind of not negate the effects, but at least limit the annoyance of it, hopefully. I don't know. Let me know how it works out. Anywho, so what I'm after right now is to sort of figure out how to arrange these on the plywood so they look pleasing for the actual test video, which will show the results of all this. And one of the things I did not want to do is trim down these leads. Like, I could trim these wires very short and have it routed very neatly. Just go straight from the battery compartment to the bulb socket to the voltmeter. Actually, let me come in a little closer here and go down to this square. The problem there is that once I'm done with this test, I'd like to be able to reuse all these components for future projects. So I don't want to trim the leads down too far. In fact, I want to leave them kind of as long as they can be. So I figure something along these lines, with the bulb socket up there, the voltmeter there, and the battery compartment there. I obviously want it horizontal so that when I put the batteries in, the brand names will be evident and not sideways, which would just be annoying to read. This bulb actually blackened. It wasn't dead. Is that just where I touched it? That's weird. I mean, it's just a regular incandescent bulb. It's actually not really blackened, it's more like bluened. Oh, whatever. Hopefully I didn't kill that bulb. I think I have 20 bulbs, so I have extras. These some are probably going to be faulty if I had to guess, because they're cheap as hell. So, I can't quite go like that. I think I'm just going to go like this with it. Put those like that, and then to tidy up this wire, maybe I'll just bring it down here and then staple these wires in place. Like, I'm not going for super neat here. I'm not going for, like, you know... Wait, hang on. I got a burp. Figured I'd spare you that, so I turned the volume down. So, like I was saying, it doesn't have to be ultra neat. I just want it to look reasonable. And I want these to be relatively... not symmetrical, but I want these to look... Each one to look very much the same. Wow, my vocabulary is failing me on this occasion. But point is, I want a template to mount all these precisely in each rectangle so that they look as well organized as possible. So that's where arts and crafts comes in. So here I got a piece of cardboard. I have scissors somewhere. And the idea is I just want to cut this to the approximate size of this rectangle. It doesn't have to be exact because I'm just going to line up the two square edges with the edges of the rectangle, and then the rest of it will fall into place from there. So even if it's just a little bit of a messy cut, because like honestly I kind of failed kindergarten, so I'm not that good with scissors. Yeah, that wasn't straight at all. Wow. That was complete shit. But it will work nonetheless, because as long as I line up this nice right angle that came from the manufacturer, my shitty cut here won't really matter. I almost sort of cut it though to length the other way. Ah. There, beautiful. Couldn't ask for a better arrangement than that. Right? Okay. Oh, let me get a thing to, to mark the paper. I feel like, damn it, this is going so much more poorly than the last time around when there was no audio. I wish I could almost dub over that with what I said previously, because I actually had interesting things to say, or at least I think they were interesting. The one guy who actually logged in to look at the stream and didn't happen to mention in the chat that there was no audio must have found it interesting, because he was on there for about half an hour, which I do appreciate. I mean, there was stuff to watch. I was doing this. And actually, yeah, that'll be fine. So, the idea is, I should probably be measuring this, right? But who gives a shit? I mean, as long as each one looks identical to the one next to it, it should be okay. I do kind of want this as square as possible, but I'm going to eyeball it for squareness and centeredness, which may not work out very well, but like I said, the whole point of this rig is to make another video, which is just going to show which battery is the best. It doesn't have to be super neat. But anyway, I'm just using this small screwdriver. Oh, crap. Let me bring this over here. I'm using this small screwdriver just to mark on the paper where these holes are for each of the components. And then I'm going to remount those holes a little bit, and then I can use a marker to transfer each of those holes onto the plywood itself, and then line up each component that way. So sort of get that vaguely in place. Then the socket, I think I want the terminals that way. And sort of leave the same margin from the edges that the battery compartment has, on the bottom anyway. Is that straight up and down? That's probably fine. You know what, I'm happy enough with that. Oh, I just moved it a little. Well, fuck me. That's okay. There we go, 2 nice marks for the bulb socket. And then let's get this thing roughly lined up with the bulb socket. Brilliant. I think that should look pretty good. This whole thing's gonna come out fucked up, isn't it? Oh, no matter. So anyway, that's the extent of the holes I need. I'll just ream them out a little bit. And then comes the excitement of me transferring this pattern to this piece of plywood 15 times in a row. And one thing I did talk about in the original version of this video was Amazon's own delivery service, Amazon Logistics. Logistics, yeah, if I could say that word, that would be great. Now, I work in an office building, as you know, many people do, and it probably has 100 office suites in it. And I order a lot of shit from Amazon Prime. I mean, I order a lot from Amazon. And it's not necessarily my fault. Like, I do a lot of little projects, and so I'll order some components and then realize, oh, I forgot some more, so I'll make another order, and then I'll realize, oh, I should have got a couple more batteries, so I have a nice even 15. Not that that's a good number, but it comes into a nice rectangle. And so I'll order more batteries, and then some won't arrive, so I'll get more batteries. Anyway, it becomes a whole thing, and so I think my total orders for last year was something like 450 orders, which, as you can tell, is more than one a day on average, is what I was trying to say. And so I have a lot of experience with UPS deliveries from Amazon, USPS, almost never FedEx. I mean, they had a deal with FedEx, and then that deal, they broke up with FedEx, and now they're back together. But I still never got many deliveries via FedEx. Now, in my experience, USPS and UPS have both been great. Like, I mean, everything gets there on time. My UPS guy is really friendly. I like him a lot. We have like a good rapport thing. He will actually bring my packages into my office itself, not just to the front desk. Oops. And, you know, overall, like, UPS and FedEx people seem very happy to be working for those companies. And from what I understand, you know, they get decent benefits, they get a pension, they got a lot of good stuff going on. In other words, it seems like it's a pretty good job, pretty good gig from what I understand. It's hard work, but, you know, pays decent, and it's a reliable living. Amazon Logistics, I'm guessing not so much. And I don't know if Amazon Logistics is even available in every area yet. Like, for example, I don't know if whoever's watching this, which is still 0 people on the stream, actually even have access to Amazon Logistics. But it is in my area. When it first came out, I was like, yes, Amazon is going to be handling deliveries. That means I'll get shit 1-day delivery. Maybe if they open a warehouse near me, I'll get same-day delivery. That would be so cool. And I was really hyped for it. Turns out, once they started delivering, they are actually terrible. And the reason I bring this up, or at least the reason I bring my office up, is because this has happened 3 times that I know of, because I was waiting for a package. Amazon Logistics just took all the packages destined for our building. Again, big building, 5 stories, probably about 100 office suites. Took all the packages for delivery that day and just dumped them in the lobby. Like, there's no security in the lobby. It's just a lobby. And they dumped them right near the front doors. Like the main doors that everyone comes in and out of. No accountability, no anything. And the best part is, when they marked the deliveries in their system, they have to say where they left them. You know, like handed to front desk, handed to recipients, blah, blah, blah. they were marked as left in secure location. Now, maybe I'm crazy, but I don't think the open public lobby of a giant office building is a secure location. And it's just kind of a free-for-all because Amazon, the app tells you the package was delivered, but obviously you don't have the package. Now, the first time this happened, I contacted Amazon, I got a replacement, and they're pretty good with replacements and the customer service, even though it's all bots, but they're still pretty quick with the refunds and replacements. That's cool. And then later on, like a day or two later, the management company for the building actually sent someone up to our office suite and dropped off my Amazon package, which I had already, said didn't arrive and reordered. And it turns out, when I talked to the guy from the management office, the Amazon delivery person just threw all the packages in the lobby, and that's how I knew that this sort of thing happened. So now, whenever I'm in my office and Amazon says your package is delivered, I go into the lobby and I find my package there in a pile of packages. Like I said, it's happened 3 times so far to me. Other times I've been going through the lobby and I'm not expecting anything from Amazon, and I see a pile of packages there. So I must have seen it happen at least 5, 6, maybe even 7 times over the course of the last few years that I've been working there. And that is just beyond BS. Now, that might just be one bad Amazon delivery driver. One like person who's either rushed or... See, and I don't want to blame the delivery driver. That's the thing. They probably get paid shit. I think they're independent contractors, a la like Uber and Lyft and all that crap. And I doubt they get any kind of real benefits. They probably undoubtedly don't get pensions or anything cool like that. They probably don't get health benefits. And they're probably under tremendous deadlines to get these packages delivered. Like, they probably get, overloaded with packages at the beginning of the day, and they have to make these deliveries as fast as possible. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that's not necessarily an excuse for just leaving packages, like, in a public area and running away. But I don't want to completely blame them, because I have a feeling it's just part of, like, Amazon's culture and the way the whole delivery system is set up. I need some longer screws for this light bulb socket. I will be right back. And it's also, it's not that one person, because I also get plenty of Amazon deliveries to my house. And it's happened a bunch of times where the package just hasn't arrived, even though it says it was delivered and left in a secure location. And I have a Ring doorbell camera, so I can see that no one actually came and dropped off a package. Like, it wasn't dropped off and then stolen. It was just never dropped off in the first place, but it was marked as dropped off. That happens one time, fine, it's a fluke. Twice, it's a little suspicious. 3 times, it's probably the Amazon person just, marking the package delivered because they were too busy and had too many stops on their route. So anyway, I got some more screws. Let's see if these will fit the light bulb sockets. Brilliant. That is just about perfect. So, it seems like... yeah, that should work fine. So, in my experience with all my shit ton of Amazon orders... Let me do this one close on this zoomed-in camera. Amazon Logistics actually is by far the worst delivery service. And I know a lot of it depends on the area. Like, people debate which is the best delivery service: FedEx, UPS, USPS. And it depends on your local delivery person, probably depends on your local depot, and whatever else is going on. Probably depends how far you are from, like, whatever the, original shipper is, like Amazon in that case. But in my area, everyone works out quite well, except for Amazon's own delivery service. And I'm just thinking, I might only put 1 screw in the light bulb socket, because that's going to hold it more than well enough. It doesn't even want to rotate, because that's in there pretty good. It'll just make my life slightly easier and use fewer of my screws, even though I can always get them back later, but whatever. Like I said, mostly about making my life easier. Oh, now one thing I got to remember to do before I secure down these voltmeters, because like I said, they have a calibration screw in the back, and for the sake of an accurate test, I want to make sure those are well calibrated correctly. So I'm going to grab some fresh batteries, pop them in there, and my good old multimeter, and let's see what we got. So that's let's say 6.2 volts on there, and oh wow, that is actually quite accurate. Yeah, I'm more than satisfied with that. So, all right, this one does not need calibration. Brilliant. It does, however, need screws, and very tiny screws at that. I don't want to go with anything too long either. Like, I want this fairly gently attached to the plywood. So let's try these very, very wee little screws. And these screws, in case you were curious, are 2.5 millimeter or 2 millimeter all the way on the right, as far as diameter goes, and then various lengths. Another Amazon special added to my vast quantity of Amazon deliveries. Another thing that kind of, and maybe I'm being like, well, you know what, I'm just annoyed with Amazon's whole delivery thing. That was weird. My mic kind of cut out when the drill started. Huh. Okay, now I gotta be careful, because if I screw one side down too much, it's gonna pop up on that side like that. And then if I screw this one down, it's definitely gonna just break the circuit board. So I kind of have to do this a little bit loosely, and then maybe gently tighten it by hand, just to avoid the drill just chewing right into the circuit board. Yeah, that's pretty good. See, a little bit loose, but just a touch. Okay, cool. So the other thing that kind of gets me about Amazon is that, like, I'm a Prime member. Obviously, because I get so many deliveries, it makes a lot of sense for me. Like, I save a lot of money on shipping that way. Plus Prime Video and all that good stuff. But what irks me is that Amazon says, like, when you order something, they give you a guaranteed delivery date. Like, that's what it says on the site, right? And to me, guaranteed means, like, you know, guaranteed or your money back, guaranteed or something happens. You know, guaranteed or you get satisfaction. And the fact of the matter is, they actually miss a decent amount of delivery dates. I actually should go back in all my orders and kind of do a spreadsheet. Oh my god, that drill definitely cuts out the mic. That's not cool. I should definitely go back in all my... Well, not definitely. It's a pain. Oh, wow. Or is that just cutting out the speaker? My little earpiece. Let me just activate the drill. Oh, wait. I don't think it's cutting out my mic. I think it's cutting out my earpiece. So you probably can't even tell that. Cool. Yeah, it's not the neatest thing in the world, but like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just kind of has to look reasonably well put together. Yeah, that's not terrible. I'm okay with that. So anyway, where was I? Right. Guaranteed delivery. The problem is, if you're a Prime member, guaranteed delivery is meaningless. Because if they miss the delivery date, nothing happens. Like, in theory, what's supposed to happen if they miss the delivery date? Now, why is this wire sort of going that way? That'll be okay. If you're not a Prime member and they miss the delivery date, it's guaranteed because you get your money back for the delivery, which is great. However, if you're a Prime member, basically nothing happens. Like, there's no penalty to Amazon. Like, there's no financial incentive, really, for them to deliver things on time. At least not all the time. Like, they can't be late on every single delivery, otherwise people will stop using their service or stop being Prime members. But they can miss deliveries fairly regularly and not suffer any penalty for it. Which, I don't know, it kind of irks me that it even says guaranteed delivery because there's no consequence if the delivery is missed. Which I know is probably me just being a little obstinate and just, you know, complaining about something for the sake of complaining about it. I want the black wire on that side too. Let the red wire come over that. Wow, I really stripped these quite far. Not the neatest thing in the world. I think this is the first one I did because I just wanted to get them in there to test it, but whatever. You know what? I'm fine with that. The other pain in the ass thing is these tiny screws require a very small very small driver bit, but these bigger screws require a bigger one, so I kind of have to just keep switching back and forth. Once I get going on this, I might just like screw down all the light bulb sockets, and then all the battery compartments, and then all the voltmeters, which have to come last for calibration. Yeah, that's fine. Anyway, I don't know if that irks you too, but it's just like the wording kind of annoys me. Guaranteed delivery. Meaningless, because if they miss the so-called guaranteed delivery, it doesn't matter. Like nothing bad happens to them. Okay, 6.2, multimeter still says 6.2. I mean, these are the same batteries that I was just using, so these should remain at 6.2 the entire time. I just kind of want to measure them intermittently. Like, I'll measure them for these first two, and then I'll just assume that they're still at 6.2 volts for the next bunch, and I'll just check on it every now and then, because, I mean, these these voltmeters probably do not draw much energy, so I can't imagine that me just hooking them up periodically is going to drain those batteries. Now the wire on this one's a little bit longer, but so it's more of a U shape, more of a squared off U shape than this one. But whatever, it doesn't have to look perfect. So, I don't know, that's my rant about Amazon. I tweet at them all the time. It's just for catharsis. It doesn't actually accomplish anything, because all it does is result in someone saying, please fill out this form, and someone from our team will look into it as soon as possible. And a couple of times, the first couple of times I filled out the form, I was like, that's pretty cool that they actually give me some kind of, like, follow-up. But, of course, they never did. I filled out a form, gave them my information, and it said, we'll get back to you in however many days. And nada. So I still complain on Twitter, but it's just, like I said, for catharsis. It's for my own amusement as well. And not that you should, but you could follow me on Twitter. It's Scott ... And I don't mean like periods, I mean DOT. Which is, you know, I kind of made a mistake. Like my YouTube channel, my main one, is called s.co.tt with actual periods, not with dot spelled out. The problem is not all usernames will allow periods, and what I figured out pretty quickly is that you can't really search YouTube for s.co.tt. Like if you type that into the search bar, you won't find me. It just assumes the period shouldn't be there, and it just searches for Scott. And obviously there's a shit ton of stuff with the word Scott in the title on YouTube. Okay, now this one reads 6.22 volts-ish. So I'll show you how this is calibrated. The tiny little screw back here, or well, I guess it's a potentiometer, right, but it has a screw head to it. And as I twist it, voltage will go up, voltage will go down. And so obviously the idea is get this as close to 6.2. Yeah, it's kind of oscillating between 6.2 and 6.19. So that should be just about perfect. And now I can get all this shit mounted. So yeah, in retrospect, I shouldn't have called myself s.co.tt. The reason I did that is because back in, I think, 2007, 2008, something like that, I got the domain name s.co.tt. Sip of water, sorry. And the .tt is Trinidad and Tobago. And the .co before that is company. So it's meant for like corporations and stuff, though. It's like .com. Anyone can just register a CO. And S is, well, S. It's a single letter domain name in Trinidad and Tobago. And I thought that was just about the coolest domain in the world, considering my name is Scott. So I was all about that. And I do have like a little blog type thing at that address, where also I just post some occasionally more detailed information, like a follow-up to a video. For example, when this test rig actually does its thing and I make a video about it, I'm also going to publish my findings on s.co.tt in spreadsheet form so that everyone can check it out who actually cares about such things. So that part of it's awesome, but like I said, the problem is you can go to my website quite easily. You cannot search me on any platform where I'm s.co.tt. And so I had realized that relatively belatedly, but I made my Twitter Scott ... with DOT spelled out. I just figured I might as well throw in some dots with my name, because obviously, Scott is fucking taken, and probably has been since the beginning of the platform. But then I went on Instagram, and the problem is Scott ... was taken somehow. I don't know who else would want to call themselves that, but it was. So on Instagram, I think I'm Scott Dots, like SCOTTDOTS. So basically, it's all quite... Oh, I gotta have the red wire on that side. So basically, it's all quite disjointed. And, oh, fuck, that should loop around the top of this. And, oh man. Wow, this is quite a mess. So, in the end, I kind of regret my YouTube handle, and I honestly forget whether I'm Scott ... on Twitter and Scott Dots on Instagram, or the other way around. But anyway, you could search me out that way. But like I said, you shouldn't follow me on Twitter. Everyone starts and ends their videos with like, follow me on social media. My social media is not very interesting. Like I said, Twitter, I pretty much complain about companies, or complain to companies where they don't listen to me, but just for catharsis. And on Instagram, I post pictures of like electronic stuff and stuff from my videos, and not even that often. So, feel free to follow me. I won't consume too much space on your feed, mostly due to lack of content. Ah, fuck. This is not really magnetic. It was just kind of... Okay, let's just do it this way then. Yeah, these wires are a mess. I think what I might do for subsequent ones is screw them to the plywood first and then wire them up. For some reason I thought it'd be better to do it before attaching it to the plywood, but not so much. Now I got this red wire stuck under the screw. See, now this is the type of thing that makes live streams just thrilling, which is why I might very well just take the recording of this live stream down from YouTube and maybe just edit out these super interesting parts, and by interesting I mean not interesting, and maybe just time-lapse this whole assembly. But you know what, as with a lot of projects, kind of learn as you go, because I didn't really have a formal plan going into this. I just kind of figured, hey, oh shit, I just dropped light bulb sockets. I just figured, hey, you know what, let me just attach all this shit to plywood and see what happens. And this is what's happening. I think the main benefit, I'm kind of off out of shot here, so let me go to this wide view. I think one of the main things about live streams, the thing that actually keeps them interesting, and interesting is sometimes a relative term, of course, but yeah, you just have to bend over that way. is that people, join the stream and ask questions on chat, and then, like, as I'm doing this shit, I could be answering the questions, or otherwise getting some participation going. But since I'm doing this on my extras channel, where I have a grand total of 200 subscribers, no one's going to see that I'm live, and anyone who does probably doesn't care. Which I don't mind. Just the way of the world sometimes. But makes for a much less interesting stream, because I can quickly run out of things to talk about. I don't know, I'm tempted to just work in silence and just hope someone comes on here that I can talk to. I'd say it's lonely, but I mean, it's not really, because if I wasn't live streaming this, I'd just be doing it anyway. Just by myself, which is the way I like it. I think that's probably true of a lot of, like, tech people. Makers, tinkerers. I mean, not all, of course. Like, some people do like working in teams, do like working in, oh my god, the name of the thing I can't remember now. Makerspace. Yeah. Well, either one. They're both ones exist. There are people who like collaborating. It's not that I don't like collaborating, it's not that I don't want to, not that I hate other people particularly, but I just kind of enjoy doing my own thing at my own pace, unencumbered. But that can be a detriment, because I also tend to procrastinate. Like, I've been meaning to do this video here, where I'm assembling this thing so that I can do the next video, for about a week, and I just kept putting it off. And in fact, 2 nights ago I sat down in front of the camera, got all this shit set up, got all the lights just right, and got all the cameras focused and calibrated correctly. And I was about to do it, and then I realized it was like 1:45 in the morning. Oh, holy shit, it's actually 1:47 in the morning right now. But it was this time when I went to start. And I was like, holy shit, if I start right now, it's going to be super late. I'm not going to get much sleep, and so I just decided not to do it. And I just turned everything off and put everything away. And that was that. And then after that, yesterday I just didn't feel like even trying. And so it's that whole, like, procrastination thing. It's one of my main, oh, shit. How do I want this? No, I gotta have it like this, and swing those over there. It's one of my many downfalls, is procrastination. I'm by no means perfect, and would never ever claim to be. But if you're working in a team, if you're working with other people, it makes it harder to procrastinate, because they'll be like, well, where the fuck's the thing you promised to do? And you say, oh, I procrastinated, and they say, well, get the hell off the team. So you have incentive to get things done on time, and get them done to a certain level, which, if I'm working by myself, I can kind of just say, oh, that's good enough, like, that light bulb socket's just fine where it is, so I'm just done. Whereas if, there's other people collaborating, they might be like, well, that looks like utter shit, you should redo that, because I don't want my name on that thing unless it looks perfect. In which case I'd say, well, fine, so do it yourself. And which is why I don't work with people. But anyway. But sometimes I wish I did. Not all the time, but on some projects. But I feel like this is one of those projects where multiple people would not really be necessary. I mean, I guess, one person could assemble and wire up each of these things while I screw them down to the board, or vice versa. But, I like things that I can do by myself. Maybe on the flip side of the coin, oh, I forgot to calibrate this thing. Maybe on the flip side of the coin, I feel like, well, that's not true. I was going to say you learn more doing stuff by yourself, because well, it's all on you. So every aspect of the project is something that you have to have full comprehension of. Yeah, that's out of calibration a little bit. But on the other hand, of course, you can learn a lot from other people, particularly other people in the same field with the same sort of interests. That's perfect, right between 6.19 and 6.2. I don't know, there's positives and negatives, I guess. So really, I suppose one should strike a balance and do some projects on their own and some projects in collaboration. And I suppose that could be a good purpose to live streaming. And I figure once I get better at this, and I've done a few, and I don't just kind of ramble as much, I'll do it on my main channel and hopefully get some participants. And, you know, you always run the risk that, like, you just get a bunch of assholes showing up who just, you know, yell racist things for the sake of getting attention for themselves, which obviously is not something I want. But that happens online. I mean, there's trolls everywhere. That would be undesirable, but what would be highly desirable is getting people to watch the live stream who actually have interest in what I'm doing, or at least interest in sort of being helpful, giving advice, like some input. Not that I'd necessarily listen to everyone's input, but, you know, have a second set of eyes or a 100th set of eyes on what I'm doing. So this is how these voltmeters come. Little anti-static bag, and voila. And it comes with very short leads, like perfect for soldering into a circuit board, but not quite so perfect for wrapping around screw terminals on a lamp holder. So obviously I got to strip these a little more with, there they are, my wire strippers, as one would expect. These wire strippers were another fantastic Amazon purchase, which may or may not have been accurately delivered, who knows at this point. And they were not expensive. I actually like this brand though a lot, CHP, Quality Hand Tools. I had at one point bought snips by this manufacturer, and they were really good. Nice solid cuts, they'll cut through pretty much anything, even stuff that'll ruin the blades over time, like steel. Well, actually component leads are steel, but I mean like heavier steel than you're supposed to cut with those. And also in plastics and all sorts of other nonsense. But they were good quality, so I got these strippers, and so far I'm very happy with them. It's not a product plug. Obviously I don't get paid by that company. It's just my personal opinion on the matter. So anyway, I think I'm going to start doing it where I affix these things to the board first and then wire them up. I'm just going to do the first one like that and just see if it's more or less of a pain in the ass than doing it the way I've been doing it. For sure, I think the wires will come out neater. I'd lose my head if it wasn't attached. Okay, so because also if I do the if I attach them to the board first, I can just go through with this driver bit and just do all of them, and then do all of them, and then go back to the other bit. So that is probably the better, more assembly line manner of doing it. Henry Ford himself would be very proud of me. No, he'd think I'm wasting my time, but I like to think he'd be happy with it. Like, oh, look at this guy making shit in his basement. This is what his life's come to. And like, let's face, I mean, this is kind of a waste of time because this project really is of no benefit to me other than answering my question about which AAA batteries are the best. But it's answering it in a very time-consuming, elaborate process, and expensive too, I might add. Because some of these batteries were not cheap. I don't remember the prices of each one. I'm obviously going to cover that in the main video. But like these Duracells, I mean, you could tell these look expensive, like the packaging is expensive looking. There's 4 batteries in here, and it's big enough to hold probably 16. But supposedly these have extra life and extra power, Duracell Optimum. but also extra expense. My wager is that these are not going to be worth it, that these are just going to be overpriced, but they probably are going to have a pretty good runtime. That would be my guess, but still not a good cost per milliamp hour. There's also Duracell Quantum, which was probably second most expensive. Then there's plain old, oh, that's not even them. Then I have Duracell Pro Cells, and I have regular Duracells. Oh, here's the Pro Cells. But anyway, all these batteries are not cheap, and in case you're wondering why I bought like some 24 packs and some 4 packs, it's just because these are so expensive. A 24 pack of these would just be absolutely absurd, whereas I got a 48 pack of Rayovacs, which probably cost about as much as the 4 high-end Duracells. My wager is that these are probably going to be amongst some of the best as far as cost per milliamp hour. And general value for money. But like I said, it's not just about that. Because I might end up with best cost per milliamp hour being an incredibly cheap battery. Oh, I don't know, like these Max Cells or these Everrays. I mean, they say gold, but who the fuck knows what that means. But they're very cheap, so they may have the best price per milliamp hour, but if their runtime is extremely short, that would be a reason not to buy them, because you obviously want to balance between cost and longevity, so you don't have to change the batteries in your device constantly. You know, you want some level of reliability. I'm doing this in like the zoomed in mode. Here we go. And like I said, I'm going to compile and analyze all that data, and of course leave it ultimately up to the consumer what they buy, but I will have some recommendations and conclusions as far as what I think are the best deals and what are objectively bad deals. But it also largely depends on your use case. Because, for example, like, these are probably, I'm going to guess these are overpriced, like, by far. These are probably going to be the most expensive per milliamp hour. But like I said, they're probably going to last the longest. And if you have an application where you need something unattended for a long period of time, like, I don't know, a hunting camera. I don't know what kind of batteries those take, but okay, these wires actually, that can't be good. What happened here is that as I stripped this, you can see this wire became much, well, maybe you can't see, it's really hard to see. I put it on a black background. The actual strands of wire on this white wire are now a lot longer than the strands of red and black. That probably means that as I pull the jacket off of this, or the insulation rather, it might have actually broken the conductors inside the cable somewhere, or inside the wire somewhere, and yeah, it elongated them. Unless they're actual copper, in which case it's pretty ductile and maybe just like sort of stretched it out. We will find out in a second when I try to power this on. And I gotta power it on before fixing it to the board anyway. In fact, let me just do this real quick, because I'm pretty sure I fucked that up. I know I'm doing this super zoomed in the corner here. Let's see if this lights up. And hopefully I have exactly enough of these voltmeters for all 15. Hey, it didn't ruin it. Okay. Okay, fair enough. That's cool. I like it. Oh, I guess I calibrate it while I have this. 6.14, that's way off. Oh god. Lost my grip. Oh crap, I actually got it almost right on. No, go right between 619 620. Fuck. It'll also be interesting to see which of these batteries have the higher starting voltage. And if any of them are sort of out of spec, like, you know, 1.7 volts, or that one's really flaky, actually. Okay, I mean, it's well enough, I think. Just curious now. Let me get the multimeter back out again. Yeah, DC volts would help. Oh, I'm not hitting all the batteries. Let me just do it on the leads. Ah, 6.145. Okay, so these actually did decline in voltage a little bit. Great. So I probably will have to test them every time. 6.145. I was kind of hoping to get it to oscillate between 6.14 and 6.15. But I got it sort of right on the threshold, so close enough, I think. Because part of the test is going to be subjective. Like there's two reasons I have the bulbs, the bulb sockets with the bulbs. Blah blah blah. You know what I'm trying to say. One is obviously to draw power out of the batteries to, you know, kill them over time. But the other, the reason I'm using a lamp instead of like just some resistors or just some heat source, is that there's a subjective view. Because like I said, I'm going to time lapse this, so you'll be able to watch the bulbs go dimmer and dimmer as the time lapse goes on. Which I think, you know, will look cool. That's sort of the idea. Because it is a video after all, there should be something to look at. But also, like I said, it'll give a subjective example of how, there's my screwdriver, of how long each set of batteries lasts. And now I do realize I'm saying batteries when I should be saying cells. Like each of these is a cell, and when you put them together, like 4 of them like that, that's a battery. But let's face it, we all use battery and cells interchangeably. In fact, for the most part, people just say battery. And as much as I hate stuff that's, you know, inaccurate, it's become such a colloquialism that I'm okay with it now. I used to be very particular about saying cell versus battery, but everyone calls them batteries. I wonder if they're not actually called batteries on any of these packages, though, I don't think. I guess the manufacturers... Oh no, it says, on the bottom of this one, it says alkaline batteries. So, yeah, even the manufacturers call the individual cells batteries. It's like a 4K TV. Your 4K TV is actually ultra high def, which is, oh my god, 3840 by 2160 pixels. Whereas proper DCI spec 4K is 4096 by 2160 pixels, I believe. Like Ultra HD is actually not 2K, I mean, oh geez, not 4K pixels wide. It's a little shy of that. But we all call it 4K. And you know what? I'm okay with that, because 3840, 3840 is, for all intents and purposes, close enough to 4000 to satisfy me. But I remember there was quite a kerfuffle over television sizes back in the day, which is why they have to say nowadays you see like 55-inch class TV or 55 class inch TV or however they phrase it, because they were, you know, selling TVs that were, for example, 55 inches, and the diagonal measurement was actually more like, you know, 54.8 inches, or, you know, some approximate number that was near 55. And I'm gonna, you know, I don't remember the details. I'm gonna guess people got sued. Not people, companies got sued over it. You know, people say, oh, I bought a 55-inch TV and my TV ended up being 54.2 inches. I want all my money back plus damages. You know, which is a little silly, but that's what happens. same thing with hard drives. People get all exercised over hard drives because, for example, a 4 terabyte hard drive is 4 terabits, which is 1,000 times 1,000 times 1,000 and blah blah blah, as opposed to 4 tebits. I mean terabytes, which is 1024 times 1024 times 1024. So it actually ends up being smaller, and the way most file systems count space is in increments of 1024, because that's base 2. Is this one stripped? Fuck. I think it is a little stripped. It's not actually coming out. That's great. And these were cheap as hell, but I think I have too many of these, so let me just put that one aside and take a different one. So manufacturers use the best looking measurement, whereas file systems use the most practical measurement from a computer standpoint, which is base 2 rather than base 10. And that leads to conflict, where consumers buy a 4 terabyte hard drive and say, oh, whoa, wait, this is like 3.8 something terabytes, or whatever it happens to be. And they think they've been shortchanged, whereas really it's just the way they're measuring it. And I mean, I think it's a little bullshitty that they measure it that way, rather than the way file systems measure it, but, you know, it's sort of the way of the world. And what I do need, though, is more of these battery compartments. And not only that, but the actual usable amount of space on a hard drive once the file system gets done putting its, you know, in the case of fat file allocation tables, or its, oh my god, its inodes and whatever else, depending on the file system, the amount of actual usable space can be significantly less. This kind of goes way outside the bounds of batteries, and maybe a little too on the technical side of things, but ZFS is by far the worst as far as overhead goes. Like, I have a, it's actually right behind me, oh god, it's hard to point like that. This server right here has 36 3 terabyte, let me go back to that camera, 36 3 terabyte hard drives, which in theory is 96 terabytes of space. And of course, aside from manufacturer specs, just the file system overhead is kind of ridiculous. You wind up with something like, instead of 96 terabytes, more like 70 terabytes of actual usable space. And then ZFS, on top of that, decides to say, for speed and stability purposes, you really should have a maximum utilization of 80%, which means that you have to leave 20% of your usable storage unused in order for the file system to operate at its optimum level. That is something I did not know before I decided to use ZFS. Had I known that, I probably would have gone a different direction. But, as it is, I think that only affects, really, the main effect that has is by diminishing write speed. And for that array, it's holding video. I don't need a great write speed. Like, once the video is dumped onto that, it stays there and just needs to be read. So I've kind of ignored that limitation. I know I said I was going to do like lamp holder, lamp holder, lamp holder. Maybe I should do it that way. Well, let me do battery holder, battery holder, battery holder. But I got to strip the leads as I go. So, yeah, for that reason, I'm not a huge fan of ZFS, although in general, it's very stable and very reliable. And very easy to manage, too. So I do like it as far as that goes. It's just, as far as cost per terabyte goes of an array, it can end up being extremely expensive compared to other file systems and RAID architectures. I know if you tuned in for man putting batteries onto a board of plywood, I can't even see that other dot. You probably don't want a lecture on file systems, but there you go. I mean, all of it's probably overkill anyway, but I like overkill. If you couldn't tell, that's why I bought 15 different brands of batteries instead of just buying a simple 24-pack of AAAs and calling it a day and sticking them in my remote and being satisfied with the rest of my life. Instead, I decided to go down this particular rabbit hole. I'm not even... Why am I trying to mount this? That is even what I said I was not going to do. I said I was going to mount all these first. Oof. Not even paying attention, am I? I mean, if you want to store 70 terabytes worth of video, there's way cheaper ways to go about it. To use the word way twice in one sentence. But I happen to have a lot of 3 terabyte hard drives, and they were also reasonably priced when I was building that system. Oh man, I'm kind of wondering how badly that drill really is interfering with the microphone. And so that's how I wound up with that giant server. Now, one thing I will say though, if you put 36 hard drives in an array, it is extremely fast. I don't know how many of you are actually interested in computers, but I'm going to talk about them anyway, because I have nothing else to talk about. Because let's just say linear read speed, which is like when you're reading data in a row, as opposed to like the drive heads dancing all around the platters. Well, I actually have a video on my main channel about hard drives. I don't remember if it's good or not. It's from a number of years ago, but anyway, the kind of linear read speeds you can expect of 7200 RPM drive is probably about 100 megabytes per second. Now, theoretically, of course, if you have 36 drives, that's 3600 megabytes per second that the array can read. Again, theoretical maximum. It's never going to be that high in real life. Whereas if you had 4 hard drives in an array, the theoretical maximum read speed for linear reads would be 400 megabytes per second. You know, all things being equal. Now, as it is, my array behind me in that server can do about 850 megabytes per second. That's megabytes, not bits. Which is why I ended up with a 10 gigabit network in my house, because, well, a gigabit network maxes out at about 100 megabytes per second, so realistically, you don't need an array that fast if you're, you know, for household use where you have 1 or 2 users. Obviously, in enterprise where you have many, many users, that's a different story, but again, it's overkill. But I like overkill because it was fun to put together the server, it was fun to configure it, it's fun to have a lot of data. Holy shit. Oh, a star. Hey, you were here last time. What's up? There was no audio last time, was there? And why is your room so cold? And also, when did you write that? I'm not even paying attention to the chat. Sorry about that. And in that regard, by the way, my room is incredibly warm down here. I'm in New York, and it's probably like 40 degrees outside. But it's a nice toasty 77 degrees Fahrenheit in my basement because of all those computers behind me. Which, by the way, you know, if it comes to like, you need to store a lot of data in your house, particularly video, I guess, would be the main thing that people would want to store that would take up a lot of space. Don't do what I did and get a whole shit ton of hard drives. This is going to be crinkly, sorry about that. Just get like some 12 terabyte hard drives, or whatever you can afford. Like 1, 2, 3 of them, whatever. Well, 2 actually wouldn't be wise, but, you know, get like a handful of them, stick them in a quiet desktop style computer with good airflow and call it a day. Don't put 36 hard drives in a giant enterprise chassis because it takes a shit ton of power and emits a shit ton of heat. Oh. So you're actually in a place that needs air conditioning. Where are you, if you don't mind me asking? And sorry if I respond slowly, but there's like a 30-second delay that YouTube puts into this, so by the time I see your message and you hear my response, 30 seconds will have passed. Which is not a great way to talk to people, I'll admit. But anyway, yeah, electricity is very expensive to use. I mean, I don't know how much it costs by where you are, but I don't know if you even saw it before, but all these computers behind me and network switches and stuff, they're very expensive to operate. Plus, even in the winter here in New York, they need to be air conditioned. Oh, you're in China, cool. I was just in China in, oh god, November, at the end of November. Not mainland China, but Hong Kong and Macau, which was very cool. I enjoyed that trip a lot. Went with my friend because he likes gambling, so he wanted to check out Macau. I'm not really a gambler, but I do like to travel, so I figured I'd join him. And yeah, saw a bunch of sights. Saw the biggest Buddha, I don't know if it's in the world, but at least the biggest Buddha in that neck of the woods. And went on the longest cable car I've ever seen in my life, which was both terrifying because it was incredibly high up, but also very cool because I like cable cars a lot. Yeah, seriously, the internet is crazy like that, and it's pretty awesome. It's awesome when the internet brings people together. Unfortunately, sometimes it seems to drive people apart. And that's a travesty, but obviously, I'm a tech guy. I think in the long run, the internet is better for us as a world. Sort of makes people realize how similar they are the world over. It doesn't matter where you are, what language you speak. People are people. And everyone wants comfort and happiness and love. Some people don't. I mean, there are assholes in every country in the world. Obviously, because that's just the nature of some humans. But, yeah. The internet's marvelous. I spend time watching videos from all over the world. Well, to be fair, I really only speak English fluently, so I watch videos from English-speaking parts of the world. And subtitled videos from other places. But it makes it feel like a very small place, Earth. Which is a good thing. Except when you screw something down too hard and you can't move it. There we go. Where am I at? I need more lamp holders. Where are the rest of my lamp holders? Here they are. They come in this very fancy cardboard box with minimal labeling. But really, what more do you need for a lamp holder? And these also not expensive. It was like, I think this is a 10-pack of lamp holders, and the whole package was like $3 or $4. Which I guess is expensive or not, depending on your perspective. I mean, I thought it was a pretty good deal. It's a hell of a lot cheaper than all these batteries, that's for sure. What time is it where you are, A-Star? I'm just curious. It is now 2:19 in the morning where I am. I'm kind of a night owl. Not kind of, I really am. I work 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. So for me, staying up to like 4 in the morning really isn't bad. I still get 6 hours of sleep. Yeah, one screw is definitely enough for these lamp holders. That's not going anywhere. I mean, none of this is going anywhere, and it's kind of like, this is overkill, screwing it down with this many screws this hard, because this plank of wood is going to stay exactly where it is for the main video. And this doesn't really have to be very well constructed at all. It's here in the afternoon, and it's already tomorrow. Oh no, it's the 14th of February here already. It's well after midnight. Well, happy Valentine's Day. I mean, I know Valentine's Day isn't really a big thing in China, but, you know, still, happy Valentine's Day nonetheless. Completely fake holiday in America, by the way. It was invented by companies that make greeting cards because they needed a way to make money between Christmas and what's the next major holiday? Easter, I guess, where people send cards. So like between New Year's and I guess April, greeting card companies would sell almost no greeting cards because there were no holidays. And they came up with the ingenious idea of having a day for love. And they basically advertised it and marketed it as such. And it caught on for some reason. Because I guess, you know, it speaks to human nature. Like, they make you feel like a bad person if you don't buy a gift or a card for your loved one on their made-up holiday. And so it sort of became a real holiday. But by no... Oh, well... You're single? I hope you find love then. And like I said, it doesn't really matter 'cause it's a fake holiday. It's by no means like people don't get off of work. The government doesn't officially acknowledge it in any way. Maybe someone will tweet Happy Valentine's Day or some crap like that. But it's entirely made up. There's no religious justification, no governmental justification. It's purely a thing of commerce. Oh, crap. Did that music stop? I think it did. I thought I had it on repeat. I don't even know if the music is audible or annoying or pleasant, but I figure it adds a little something to the video, other than the droning on of computers and air conditioners. Alright, all light bulb sockets are in, all battery compartment dealies are in. Cool. Now I just need more voltage meters. Cool. And then I should have a bunch more in this package, 5 more if I recall, because I should have 15 of them and I bought 3 of these packages. Yes. Oh, I feel like this plastic's making a nasty noise on the microphone. Alright, now this part becomes sort of a pain in the ass because I gotta calibrate these. So I think the best order in which to do this is going to be to wire it up into the lamp holder and then measure the voltage. Maybe I'll wire them all up, measure them all, calibrate them all, and then screw them down to the plywood. That seems like the best course of action. Yeah, I think the music volume's low enough. I can hear it in my earpiece, but just barely. But like I said last time, was awful as far as the audio went because there was none. So I'm hoping this is coming across as I'm hearing it. And by the way, this isn't like my favorite music or anything. I have to play non-copyrighted music, otherwise YouTube will start putting ads in my video and taking the money for themselves, well, or for the copyright holders. So this is license-free music downloaded from YouTube themselves. And I just downloaded some random sort of like ambient, chill, categorized music. So I hope it's decent. I mean, it seems decent. I'm not really paying all that much attention. I did not cut these long enough, or strip them long enough. Oh, come on. Doing this at a weird angle. Okay. Come on, screw down. I think that should be fine. You know what, no, I'd rather see each one finished sort of as I do it, so forget this. I'm going to calibrate them as I wire them up and then screw them down. Alright, 6.17. I think last time I got 6.145, but let me see what it is this time. I have the multimeter in my crotch. 6.17, wow. These are actually very well calibrated. I'm quite pleased with these, considering they were so cheap. Excellent. Swap out driver bits and go with the tiniest screws. Oh yeah, it kind of does remind me of that. I know exactly what you mean. But I guess that's a good thing. I mean, reminding people of NASA could be worse. And calming is definitely what I was going for. These I'm going to strip a little longer than that last one. Yeah, that should be nice. I may have run out of things to talk about. Oh, electricity. Right. My electricity is electricity in my area is some of the most expensive in the United States. Definitely not the most expensive, but it's up there. It's I think comes out to about 25 cents per kilowatt hour. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but it adds up very quickly. Considering like that server I was talking about behind me uses 500 watts of power approximately 24/7. I think I calculated once it costs about $75 a month just to run that one server, which is, you know, granted, it is pretty crazy. But it's still cheaper than, like, if I wanted to store that much data and host it with Amazon, it would cost far more than that per month. Oh wow, I'm really struggling with this. It's kind of a weird angle because I'm trying not to put my head right in the middle of the video. But there we go. And I have quite a number of servers and other computers in my house. And then plus the cost of air conditioning them 24/7, even in the winter, has kind of got out of hand. In fact, lately I've been considering cutting back a little bit, which makes me sad in a way, because I've always had a lot of computers in my house. Well, starting off in my parents' house. Okay, I'm testing this again. I guess I should bring this into the shot so you can see what I'm doing. Oh wow, that screw did not... Is that stripped? Does that wiring just pop right out of that screw? Not cool, wiring. Yeah, this screw is not seating well, and the whole apparatus... Yeah, this is stripped. Oh, what do you know? Yeah, these lamp holders are not the best quality. Yeah, well, in the meantime, I guess I could still calibrate the thingy. 6.1 volts, call it. This one's slightly off. Oh man, it's sensitive. That is a very sensitive potentiometer. Come on, 6.1. Is it invisible? Sorry, this isn't really pointed at the camera, but I'm trying to delicately turn this screw. Wow. It's really hard to hit 6.1. Okay. Wow. This might just have to remain a little bit off. Oh, 6.1. Ha, I got it. It's probably going to become uncalibrated as soon as I screw it down, though. Yep, I agree with you there about solar energy. Solar and wind were available. Oh god. I don't know if you're aware, but politically, for some reason, America is very fond of coal. Well, half of America seems to be fond of coal, the other half seems to be fond of renewable energy like, you know, wind and solar. I myself am most solidly in the renewable energy side of the argument. Because, well, why wouldn't I be? It makes a lot more sense. Although, sadly, that would not, well, I was going to say it would not make power free or all that cheap, because it still has to be distributed to homes and businesses, and obviously that infrastructure costs money, but, you know, nowadays you can get residential solar panels on your own roof, and something like a Tesla Powerwall to store up charge during the day, so you have power at night. So in theory, a home in an area that gets a lot of sunlight could be pretty much self-sufficient, which would be awesome. I probably will never be, because I use way too much electricity to be supplied by my own roof. There's just not enough space and not enough sunlight. But obviously that is the dream. Oh, a better connector for this, rather than these screw terminals. Yeah. Oh, shoot! I just shorted out that battery connection. Yes. But sadly, I was trying to do this in a very cheap way, and just joining all this stuff under the terminals and lamp holders seemed like the cheapest way to do it, rather than using a separate connector or even soldering this stuff together. But due to the quality of these terminals, this screw is stripped also. It's just turning indefinitely. I mean, it's kind of holding it there, so I'm just gonna sort of leave it like that and hope for the best. Maybe I just need to be really delicate screwing these down. Oh my god. Like I said, I'm doing this at a weird angle. I'm trying not to stick my head directly over it, which would be the most optimal position for it. This one's okay. That one's a little stripped too. It's down just enough to get that secured into place. I'm going to be satisfied with that and leave it there. All right. Now this is where it's really a thrill a minute. Having to do each one of these steps 15 times. And my nose is whistling a little bit. That's kind of weird. Actually, it's not that weird. I guess it does it sometimes. What can you do? Try to breathe through my mouth. Not the most attractive thing, but you can't see my face, so it doesn't matter. Also, I guess it doesn't matter whether it's attractive or not. I mean, who cares as long as you can breathe. Oh, I skipped one. That's fine. I'll get back to it. But yeah, renewable energy, particularly in the southwest United States where there is sun almost constantly, and there's a lot of places where there's wind almost constantly. And it's like, why not just harness that? I mean, it's there for the taking. It just seems more efficient and straightforward than having to dig underground, either drill for oil or just strip mine for coal. It just seems very elaborate and expensive and sort of messy. Like, not even from an environmentalist standpoint, just it just seems like more work than should be necessary. Well, not should be necessary, but more work than is necessary in other ways. Because, like, once you get a decent solar or wind array set up, it requires some maintenance, but, you know, it should be reliable and last years. I mean, they say a lot of modern solar panels have a lifespan of 20, 30 years. Estimated, of course, because this technology that's around now hasn't been around that long. But, it just seems more efficient. I don't know. And obviously it is better for the environment than spewing tons of exhaust gases and particles from power plants. Tycho or T connectives video. Yeah, I will. I like connectors. Anything that can wire up a thing to another thing, I am a fan of. Now let's see what the voltage is. I kind of have to test these all as I go along because the voltage is dropping. 6.16. That's the 6.17. I'm kind of satisfied with that. I probably shouldn't move this because it's going to 6.18, 6.16. Yeah. That'll work. Just swapping out drill bits. Oh, overdid it. Like I said before, I don't want to. I can't screw these down too hard because it's sort of like the chip and the potentiometer on the back acts as a fulcrum. So if I push one side down too far, then go to screw the other side, it's just going to crack the board or crack the mounts or damage something. Now, the more cautious person might use a screwdriver instead of a fairly large and fairly powerful cordless drill, but I'm also somewhat lazy, and it seems way easier to use the cordless drill. Well, not seems, it guaranteedly is easier. That's fairly objective. But anywho, so how many more of these do I have to do? I have to do 6 more of these voltmeters and wire them up, and then this project is done, and I can make the actual video, which will have the useful information that everyone wants to know. Oh, Blade Runner 2049. I saw that when it came out in the theaters, which quite a few years ago, so I do not remember the solar array. Oh wow, I'm actually wiring the wrong wires together. But yeah, there are actually some pretty huge ones out in California. I drove past a couple of times, but they're, I think, of the older style. It's not like a bunch of the photovoltaic panels. It's a whole ton of mirrors that focus the light on a central tower where I think it heats up some kind of sodium compound, and that heat is used to boil water and spin a turbine. I'm not sure if that's more or less efficient than photovoltaics, but I imagine in some ways it might be more reliable, because I mean photovoltaic panels, you know, can fail pretty, but I guess if you have enough of them, I don't know. I'm no energy expert, but I do know it's a completely different technology, but I think it's just also an older technology before photovoltaics were as efficient as they are today. But they look pretty damn cool in the desert, because all those mirrors focusing the light on that one point on top of a tower. The top of that tower glows incredibly brightly. Like it's hard to look at. It's like a mini sun. I mean, it's the light of the sun, so it makes sense that it would be incredibly bright. But yeah, it's quite a spectacle. I gotta test this one. I think in outside Dubai or one of the United Arab Emirates, they're doing a giant solar installation, or they've just completed it, which obviously makes complete sense given that they're in the middle of a desert and get sun all day, every day, pretty much. And they also spend a lot of money and use a lot of electricity on air conditioning, which again makes sense in the middle of a desert, so you kind of need to harvest a lot of power. Oh yeah, Blade Runner, both the original and 2049 are just visually stunning. Obviously the newer one more so, because with computer graphics they can do way more elaborate things. 6.15, I completely forgot what I measured before. Whereas in the original one it was, what, 1984 or something that it came out? And obviously Ridley Scott was a lot more limited as to what he could do with actual models and matte paintings and stuff. But yeah, the new movie was visually fantastic. But I am a sucker for science fiction, especially like world-building, immersive science fiction. And there's two science fiction writers of whom I'm big fans. William Gibson, which, you know, classic. The Neuromancer trilogy. That I wish they'd make into a movie, but, you know, obviously do it very competently with a good director and a hefty budget. And also Neil Stephenson. I'd love to see a movie version of Snow Crash, or well, really any of his books. But Snow Crash was the first book of his that I read. It always has a special place in my heart. Oh, you saw it in IMAX? That must have been awesome. I saw it in a regular theater in a, you know, decent sized screen. But IMAX, that must have looked amazing. It was actually, I think that might have been the last movie I saw in the theaters, because I do not go to the movie theaters that often. I prefer to watch stuff at home. It's kind of probably the antisocial part of me. But also, I like the ability to pause a movie and go to the bathroom without missing anything, or get up and get a drink without missing anything, and, you know, so forth. Even though it's not as immersive or as, you know, all-encompassing and impressive as IMAX, or even a regular movie theater, but, you know, comfort versus immersion. I don't know. Besides, home theater stuff has come a long way. I mean, back when it was the DVD era, you know, low resolution, people had CRT screens that maxed out at, you know, what, 30-something inches? It was the best you could do. That's not a very cinematic experience, but nowadays, I mean, I don't have a huge TV. I have a 55-inch, but I'm not sitting all that far away from it. And 4K, so, and it's OLED, so things look pretty damn good as far as color goes. So it doesn't match up to the movie theater experience, I know. It's quite inferior to that, but it's a hell of a step up from where we were 20 years ago. And the popcorn at my house is free. Well, not free, but it's, you know, very cheap at the store. 6.06 volts, according to this. There's no way it's that low. Oh, 6.00 actually. 5.99. Oh. Okay, that's accurate. Oh, holy crap, okay. Fair enough. Shouldn't have doubted you, tiny cheap voltmeter. These were actually sold as motorcycle voltmeters. I guess because they're small and they easily fit on a motorcycle, but they're in no way weatherproofed. So I don't know where you'd put them on a motorcycle where they wouldn't get ruined by the weather. Unless you're going to integrate them into the dashboard or whatever you call the, you know, gauges part of a motorcycle. Oh, you know what? I'm stupid. Why don't I just note the voltage there, take the batteries, put them in here, and then calibrate it to that voltage rather than having to take the multimeter. Well, the multimeter is much more accurate. I might get some drift if I do it that way. Stick with the multimeter, that's why I've been doing it. What time is it? 2:48 in the morning. Cool, this should finish up just about at the time I want to go upstairs. Oh crap, I just cut that wire completely. Oh well, let me trim all these to the same length then. Go upstairs, watch a little YouTube. Not of myself, but, you know, actual YouTube. Relax for a little bit and then go up to bed. That's my plan for the evening. I mean, what more would you expect after a thrilling night of attaching electrical components to a piece of plywood? It's not like I'm going to go out to the club. Should not be my thing anyway. maybe it's a stereotype, but dancing and computer nerds don't really go together. Oh crap, I'll be right back in 1 second. I'm recording this to another recorder, and I just realized that recorder has stopped. And that's not cool, because I wanted to have like kind of a time lapse of this assembly. So I need to get another SSD, which is hopefully blank. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about, by the way. Because this one is full. This is why I need... Oh my god, this one's 512 gigs. Probably should record this at 1080p. You know what? In fact, I'm going to put this in the 1080p recorder. This is why I need such a big file server, incidentally. Because I shoot video at ridiculously high resolutions. Way higher than I need to, realistically. Format SSD. Yes. And format. I know this is a exciting part of the stream. Hang on. I'll be with you in a second. Oh yeah, formatting SSDs off camera is a thrill a minute. It is done. Hooray. And now I may record. Okay, cool. I wonder how much this actually captured. Not that it matters, this is all getting recorded by YouTube, but like I said, if I want to time-lapse it or edit it down, I really need to have it recorded here at home. But I also didn't think I'd be going at this for like 2 hours already, or almost 2 hours, damn. Yeah, these lamp holders are real crap, like it's very easy to strip the wires. I mean strip the screws. Or more likely the receptacles that the screws go into. Okay. Yeah, so the whole goal here is just to gently tighten this to add enough pressure to hold the wires in place but not over tighten it so it strips. And by the way, these wires are not coming out well organized at all. I might just leave it kind of sloppy. I mean, it is like a DIY type thing. That's kind of the aesthetic. Oh, didn't calibrate this one. Didn't calibrate this one. Yes, I am married. And, yeah, 3-hour 1080p video would take 8 to 12 gigabytes of space if I was shooting in, like, MP4. But, I'm shooting in ProRes 422 format, which is in a .mov container, which ridiculously required, oh, this is pretty accurate, which ridiculously required that entire 512 gigabyte SSD to hold the probably 2 hours or less than 2 hours of video. But it's 4K video, mind you, that I was recording to. Now I've switched to 1080p because obviously that'll take about a quarter of the capacity. But yeah, mental note to myself, when I'm streaming these long projects, should just record in 1080p. 4K is not really necessary. I mean, neither is recording at an incredibly high bitrate. But, whatever. Live and learn. Like I said before, I'm a fan of overkill, especially when it comes to things technological or video production related. Like, even though I may not be the best at making videos, I really like the technical side of it. And that includes the equipment. So I actually have a way more elaborate studio setup down here than I probably should have, or I'm entitled to have, for the quality of videos I'm making, but wiring everything up and disconnecting it and rewiring it and rearranging it periodically. Shoot, these strands of wire are very delicate. I just broke another one. Nuts. But that's what I find fun. And I kind of just make videos so that I can use the video equipment. It's kind of a not a self-fulfilling prophecy, but it's you know what it is? It's the insulation on these white wires. It's incredibly tough, and like it's more rubbery than these. These are more like a vinyl coating, very easy to sort of rip off. But I think the problem is the white wire, as I pull it, the insulation sort of shrinks against the wire, and then it starts pulling the wire itself. Something to keep in mind, something I probably should have figured out much earlier on in this project, because I'm almost done. Yeah, well, I mean, the main reason I record stuff for YouTube in 4K is because even most people aren't going to view it in 4K. I mean, if you're watching it on a smartphone or, you know, on a cellular data connection, you probably don't want to stream in 4K because it would use a lot of data. But even if you're watching at home, I mean, if you're watching on a device, you're probably not going to be able to tell the difference between 4K and 1080p because the pixels are so tiny in the first place, unless you have it right up against your nose. It's not so much for that reason, it's because when YouTube re-encodes video, it compresses it quite a lot, and it re-encodes it in different resolutions, you know, 480, what's the next one up, 720, 1080, 4K, even 1440 I think sometimes. And it's encoding all that based on what you upload, and you can only upload MP4 video at a relatively low bit rate. And so I figured, why not give it the highest quality sort of master going into YouTube when I upload it? Because quality only degrades as you go from one form of encoding to another. You know, like ideally, like digital video doesn't degrade as you make copies of it. And if you just make a copy of an actual file, the video quality doesn't degrade at all. But if you're re-encoding it in a different format or at a different bit rate or etc., 6.10, each time you change the encoding, it's like losing a generation of when you copy VHS tapes to each other. You get a reduction of quality each time, so I prefer to start with the absolute highest quality recording that I can, even if it is way overkill. Yeah, I mean, I imagine that's the case with most people. They're not actually going to even be able to watch a 4K video. But you know what it is? I record the video on my recorder here. Then I edit the video. Well, in this case, I might not edit it, but usually I would edit the video, and then I have to export it from the editing software, where it re-encodes it into a new format entirely. So it loses some quality in that transfer. Then I upload it to YouTube, and YouTube re-encodes it into different formats, so it loses some quality there. And so, like, if I were to start out with 720p video at a relatively low bit rate, it would only go downhill from there. It wouldn't stay the same or get better, obviously. So it's just like my anal retentive side. Why am I putting batteries in that? It's not even hooked up. That makes me want to start off with the highest quality. Completely unnecessary. Like, if you or anyone else wants to make YouTube videos, like, I'm doing it way overkill just for fun. But by no means do you have to do that. And I wouldn't even recommend doing it this way, because it gets very complicated. Like, unnecessarily so. I'm not even in the shot. Wow. Sorry about that. I was like working over outside of the area of the table. But yeah, I mean, it's stupid for me to record like 2 hours worth of video on a 512 gigabyte SSD, because like half a terabyte just to have 2 hours of video is a bit obscene. You know, even for the reasons I just gave, like, it's still overkill. Like, that's sort of what like a professional TV studio or professional production company would do. And obviously my content isn't really worth that, you know what I mean? Like if I was making some really important like documentary or something, or doing interviews of famous people, I'd want the highest quality video possible to preserve it for historical purposes, you know, and to give viewers the absolute best experience. But for making a YouTube video like this, frankly, I could probably just shoot it with a cell phone and it would be just as good, or just as bad as the case may be. Oh, you're watching in 240p. See? So all my effort, it's way overkill for this. Although I'm streaming at 1080, but only recording at 4K. But I guess that's a bandwidth issue where you are? Like, are you watching it on like a broadband, like a home connection, or are you watching it on mobile data? I'm just curious. Why did I screw that down? I did not calibrate it. Oy. It's because I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. 6.07. Let's just hope it's right so I don't have to unscrew it. It is not right. 6.03. 6.02 would be right. Oh man, I'm so close to the end. I almost don't want to do this, but why not get it right? Ooh, 6.0. It was hovering around 6.0. Let me just see what it is right as of this second. 5.992. Perfect. That'll do. Why did it just jump up? Jumped up to 6.02. I just want to get it 6 even. That would be just about perfect. Like I said, it doesn't have to be super duper accurate, but I do want it as accurate as possible without driving myself crazy trying to adjust these potentiometers. Okay, cool. No, how much is the the IMAX file size? Oh, and yes, I guess you got to use a VPN to get around the Great Firewall. That is the trouble with VPNs. They can be very slow, especially for streaming. Why am I missing one of the voltmeters? Oh, wait, no I'm not. Here it is. Phew, I thought I lost one of them or didn't get enough. Because this is... Oh, I'm doing this out of the frame again. Wow. Like I said, this is just my, well, my first real live stream with audio and everything. So I'm still sort of getting the hang of this. Oh, I'm nuts. No, that makes sense. It gets all jittery if you go too high a bit rate. Alright, last connections. This is exciting. Like I said, I've been meaning to make this video for like a week now, so seeing it come together is pretty cool. Oh, a meter in diameter? Damn. That is huge. And it must be heavy too, because the film is wide and I think fairly thick so that it doesn't, you know, tear or break when it goes through the projector at high speed. Like, I wonder if a single person could just load that into the projector themselves, or they need a machine just to move it and load it. Huh, I might look that up later. I wonder what a reel of IMAX film weighs. Okay, 6.11 is almost certainly not correct. Let's see, I should leave this in the shot. Okay, I'm just crush it. Oh, wow, there's a lot of glare. That's not very helpful. Okay, well, I'll read it out. You have to trust me on this. 6.118. 6.11. Should be technically 6.12 on the meter, but you know what? Close enough. Ah, for the Dome Theater. I think I've only been to like a full IMAX Dome style theater once. In Washington, D.C. at a museum. Yay. Alright. This thing's pretty much done. Like I said, I just kind of wanted to get the wires a little more neatly organized, but I got all these little scraps of wire I got to clean up, but otherwise, I would call that a success. 15 different types of batteries, all able to monitor at the same time. Oh, yeah. Oh, so it's... wait, is it like a planetarium? Like where it's all projected on the ceiling, or... I'm sorry if I'm not understanding. It's like I said, I don't go to the movies that often, let alone IMAX, so I don't see many IMAX theaters. I've only been to a few in my whole life. I had a light bulb hanging around here somewhere. I cannot find my light bulb. I don't know why, I just feel compelled to... Oh, I guess I should plug in light bulbs into all of these. Yeah, so this is how they come. How many are in each package? Yeah, 10. And I got 2 packages, so I have 20 bulbs and 15 sockets. That's perfect because, like I said, I'm going to guess not all of these bulbs are going to work. Now, the one downside about this, and using these cheap incandescent light bulbs, I just realized, is that if one of these dies, or multiple light bulbs died during the test, that's sort of going to ruin the results. I guess it's not the worst thing in the world, like whatever set of batteries is being tested, when the light bulb goes out, I'll just have to retest it. It could just be a disaster if it's like one of the types of batteries I only have a 4-pack of, because then I can't retest them. I have to buy another 4-pack. Ugh, I didn't think of that. Like that light bulbs are a fairly unreliable way to put a load on these batteries. What I could have done, perhaps would have been a better idea, is resistors, or a big resistor to deplete the batteries, and then LED just to show visually how much charge is left in the batteries. Well, live and learn. Well, let's hope I don't have to learn, because let's hope they'll just work and they stay lit the whole test. Another, why, oh god, why is this stripped? Get in there. Oh, come on, this bulb's not going to seat. Oh, nerds. It's like the threads aren't just... Oh! You're not going to be able to see it on video. No, you're totally not going to be able to see it. I don't want to push everything off. It's this one. Maybe you can. There's like a little split right there. The material, the copper or brass or whatever the hell it is on the inside, actually just split open. It's so thin. I mean, it's still possible. I could just like jam the bulb down there and get continuity. But I may have to replace that one. Like I said, they are very cheap lamp holders. Oh, no, okay, it's deep enough. It's at like a weird angle. I'm gonna zoom back out. But hey, it's lit up. That's all I want out of it. Doesn't have to look perfect. This whole thing is DIY style anyhow. Why is it rotating? Oh my god. There we go. Yeah, like the whole interior of this lamp holder is rotating. I don't think that's right. Yeesh. I have to hold it in place with a screwdriver while I turn this in, and then hope that it's functional. That's going to be the bane of my existence, I think, are these lamp holders. Either them not getting continuity, or actually the bulbs themselves blowing out as the test is conducted. But I would say, thus far, success. Yeah. That's 15 places to test batteries. Well, 60 batteries. And those are going to be fun to put in. Well, anyway, that is going to be right before the actual video is done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put, I guess, 3 batteries in each, because I want the test to start at the same time, and then as quickly as possible put the 4th battery in each one. I don't think an extra 10 seconds to get the last battery in is really going to make a difference between the first one and the last one. Like if they die within 10 seconds of each other, they're pretty much going to have the same capacity. So I'm not too concerned about that. That's why I didn't buy switches, because I figured, I could have a switch in each one and just toggle them on, it'd be faster than putting in the batteries, but I guess that'll work. So, yeah, that is this thing finished, I guess. Pretty cool. Well, anyway, I am going to sign off now. A-star, I hope you have a great day, and thanks for watching. And maybe I'll be streaming soon, maybe not. I don't know, I'll have to see how well this went after the fact. And if you're watching the recorded version, thanks for watching. You can subscribe to my main channel if you want. I think it's links, I'll link it in the description, because you can't search for it, stupidly, because it's s.co.tt. There's no way you'll find it by searching. You'll just find other Scots who are not me. But anyway, yeah, have a good night, everyone. Or good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are.